Hey everyone, big thanks to Chris and Right Align Academy crew for having me here. I am super pumped to share one of our latest projects with you guys, and that is Masjid Al Mustafa. So, before we jump into the identity, let me give you a quick intro about who we are and what we do. Yeah. So, I'm Wasif, the founder and creative director of Amal Studio. We enjoy collaborating with ethical and faith-driven brands to create a world-class branding experience, and that is obviously without compromising our values. So we believe in focusing on not just the looks, but also the intention and the purpose behind each and every brand. So let me show you the quick sneak peek of the project first. Okay. So here's the project of Masjid Al Mustafa. That is what we have done. And if I say a bit about Masjid Al Mustafa, so basically Masjid Al Mustafa is a huge mosque in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and it has the capacity of around 11,000 people. So mosque is basically a place of worship for all Muslims. So this mosque, it's built not just for local community but also for global visitors. So we had to think and consider this just to in all our identity. So let's see about our process. Then our process for this project. Okay. So first we started with discovery session as usual. Like in discovery session, we tried to really dive deep to know about all the insights of masjid, all the story, all the emotion, the purpose, the vibe, everything. And once we get that, we move to the identity exploration part. So this is the main fun part, right? So this is the part where all the creative things happened. So in this part, we looked for patterns, symbols, logos, forms, and every visual things. So for this project, it was a bit exceptional because for this project, after identity exploration, we had to move to the spatial designs. Usually we do the brand collaterals, but there was a challenge, and for that we had to do the spatial designs after identity finalization. So spatial designs and then brand collaterals, all the designs, and finally the brand book. So yeah, so this is our process in brief, and there were some challenges. And if I share the first challenge that was the pattern, it was initially finalized. So you see that this pattern, it was the initial pattern and it was sent for production. So the first thing was the time was really short, and the second thing was we had to pitch for new patterns and we had to ensure that this must wow them. So that was the second challenge. And the third challenge, that was during the process, and it is like that though this pattern feels same for each and every element, there were some things that needed to take into the consideration, like the size and the scale. So we had to manually tweak them, like fixing the edges, making sure that this doesn't look asymmetrical or something like that. So we had to do manual design for each and every element, though it's same that all are same. Okay. So these were the challenges. Now let's move to the brief. So the brief was honestly very extensive, but just to share with you guys in brief, the brief in brief, and that is, first of all, the client, they wanted something like a blend of magnificence and modernism. So we had to consider that. And then, like I shared, that international visitors friendly. So international visitors friendly, so we had to think of trilingual identity system for this. So we will come to that part later. And third, we had to ensure that the inspiration, client also shared about his inspiration, and that is the golden era of Islam. So you know that golden era of Islam in that era actually the main Islamic architecture emerged, and that is where geometry, symmetry, and all the craftsmanship were seen, right? So from there, we dove into how those classic forms could fit into this world. And then we started our journey with the pattern. So yeah, so we had to start with pattern first without the logo. So this was the exception for this project. So for the pattern part, we had to take inspiration from many places. Like we had to seek inspiration from Spain, Iraq, Uzbekistan, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, because these are the places which boast of rich heritage from the golden Islamic age. So we tried to analyze that what makes this work beautiful and so contemplating. So after researching that, we found that there is a interesting common pattern grid. Let me share with you the pattern grid. So this is the pattern grid I was talking about. So generally there are several types of pattern grid. So there are example of 4, 5, 6, 8, even 10 or 12 pattern grid, 10-fold, 12-fold pattern grid. So if you see, there are examples of 4, 5, 6, but intentionally, this is the fun part, intentionally we chose the 8-fold pattern system. Why is that? This is because we want the pattern to hint at a bit of modernism. Like if you know that 8-bit equals to 1 byte. So 8 is a significant number in computational science, right? So we just in a subtle way we try to merge this concept with the 8 so that it remains modern and something for future. So yeah, 2 cube equals to 8. We selected the 8-fold pattern. So this is the underlying grid of geometric pattern. So now if you see that, from this pattern, what we did is we came up with 3 directions for all these patterns. And this is the cool part. Like we came up with this idea of creating Mustafa patterns with the letter M using the 8-fold grid. So you see that there is direction 1, we used M, direction 2, M, a bit curvy M, something more softer, and direction 3, kind of geometric M. So we gave these directions name. So the first direction was Tranquil star. So the direction 1 that symbolizes peace, spiritual clarity, calmness, etc. So that's why we gave that direction name Tranquil star, because you see it's a star. The second one, that is sublime petal, it's softer and it's more like resembling beauty and balance, something organic. The third one, that is spiritual heart, because you know that with the aim it's a heart shape, a geometric heart shape. So we gave this name because it brings a sense of connection and devotion. So these three things became the DNA of the Masjid Al Mustafa's identity. And from this, we understood that we could see something from this. So if we see now, we told these things as pattern atoms. So we call them pattern atoms. So if we see this pattern, 3 pattern atoms without grid, from this, we created this tiling. And if you see that this tiling, so this is from these pattern atoms, and you see the Tranquil star, this has the steady and meditative rhythm, kind like rhythm, repetition like zikr. And then the second direction, it has that nice flow and softness, feeling like a gentle floral movement. And the third one, it's kind of it's kind of a resemblation of unity and faith, because it's a spiritual heart. So this is when we thought that, okay, this styling could be working. So for these three directions, we thought of three identity systems like logos and other stuff, colors and other stuff. So now I will show you the first identity direction we thought of for pattern atom, direction 1. So the first identity direction was Tranquil star. In this direction, we thought of why not using the pattern atom as a logo, because you know that if you see like this type of Islamic architecture, there was a dominance of using radial stars. So we thought of this could be a good thing. Like if I show you now that, yeah, this is the pattern and this is the logo. So the logo, it's something that is unique, but at the same time, as we build from letter M, interestingly, it fits all the letter M, A, and M. So that is the interesting thing, and it becomes the logo, and it has some plus, like it's already in the pattern, so something that can be connecting, but at the same time, it has the unique characteristics. So now let's talk about the color palette of this direction. So in this direction, we try to collect something classic and fresh. So we drew an inspiration from the Kiva dome, that is from Uzbekistan, and that dome and the design that is kind of aligned to modernism. So we picked up from that, and also we tried to mix it with the metallic shades of olive hues for sophistication, and this is a common material used in modern architecture, right? And the last thing that we put lime green, because that was there was an interesting result. There's an interesting reason for this. So this Masjid Al Mustafa, this mosque is designed as an energy efficient one. I mean sustainable. So for that, we try to put a hint in this color palette, like it's sustainable, and that's why we use the lime green. So yeah, that was the color palette, and now let's see the lockup variations. So you know that as there was the brief, like it has to be global visitors friendly, right? So we share some of the variations of the logo, and we came up with the mono, bilingual, and trilingual lockups, because we had to prove to the client that, okay, trilingual system works as well as the bilingual one and the mono, but how and in which scale it will work. So we had to show them, and this is as just a initial demonstration. So these are the lockups, and after that, so okay, so basically here we used English, Arabic, and Bangla, these three languages in this lockup, and also in some variations we used Arabic and English, and Arabic and English. Okay, so now if we see about the brand elements, so there are some couple of elements, and we created them from the star, so from the star logo and from the pattern. So if you see that there's an interesting connection, like if you see to the inclusivity or unity, you feel like something that feels like a community. Like if you see that inclusivity, that's kind of a diverse community, and if you see the unity, like it's a community coming together around faith, and then you see the magnificence, and it's like a magnificence and harmony. If I say about them, like it's like a layered and tiled look for both space and print. Yeah, so we thought of something ornamental but not so overpowering, so that it's connected to the spirituality. So with this brand elements, we kind of showed the stationaries to the clients. So this is what the stationery is. So if you see that we used those brand elements and we mixed and matched them with the brand colors, so we ensured that it comes out something elegant but not being too much. So this is how we balance the design. And if you see that there's a balance in different of elements used in different mediums and different items. So now if we see some few applications, so these are all the these are some all applications that we show to the client. So this is the for basic initial demonstration. So you see that the book, the Quran cover, the VR, because they say they will give some virtual tours to the visitors. So we thought of VR branding as well. So as well as the mat, prayer mat, and some environmental items. So that was it about the first direction. So now comes the more emotional direction, and that is Gateway to Paradise. So we gave this direction this name because we were inspired from a prophetic saying, and that is, he who goes to the mosque in the morning or the evening, God prepares for him a place in paradise every time he walks to it or comes back from it. So that's a huge thing. So if you see that mosque is literally the gateway to paradise. So we thought of this idea could be an interesting one for this direction. So what we did, there's another cool thing here. So in architectural part, we found this shape. It could be an interesting interpretation. Like as we thought of this direction, the gateway to paradise, this could be used as a gateway. So that is not the end here. We thought of, okay, we see an interesting resemblance of MAM letter here. So why not putting that into here also? So what we did, we took that from their architectural frame, that is the arch, and then we came up with this logo for this direction. So this is the logo, and you see that there is a grand doorway feel here in this logo, so which is totally aligned with the direction. So for this direction, we took inspiration for colors, and that is from Blue Dome of Haidar Khana Mosque, and that is from Iraq. So this mosque was built back in 12th century during the Abbasid Caliphate, when Baghdad was a vibrant hub of Islamic culture. So that is the time when it was a place buzzing with knowledge, art, and faith. So we thought of that this inspiration could be a good one for this. So then we showed them, like I showed you before, that some different variations of lockups. So these are some variations. Definitely these are not the all variations. In finalized direction, we came up with more options so that it becomes more flexible. So for this direction, we thought of keeping it fully pattern centric. So what we did, we used some patterns, the same pattern, that is the second direction, sublime petal, and then we used it across different branding elements with the brand colors. So that's how we did the branding here. So yeah, if you see the same pattern everywhere, but in different colors and palettes. So this was the stationaries, and then we showed them some few applications for this one as well. So you see, like for the VR, for the prayer mats, for the dome, for the book cover, for the tupi, I mean the cap. So this were for the second direction. Now let's move to the third direction. So the third direction, it's we called it Kufic charisma. So Kufic is basically a styled calligraphy that is connected to the history, like it was one of the old scripts in Islamic art. So if you see that there's some geometric letters and some ornamental works here, so this is actually the Kufic style. So we thought of why not incorporating it into our this route, so that it connects that to that old tradition, old culture, but also somehow we will transform it to modern. So let me show you how we just did that. So this was the logo of third direction. So if we see about the mosque's outer shape, so we took that outer shape of mosque and then we combined it with Kufi calligraphy, and then we wrote Mustafa in it. So that's how we came up with the logo of this direction here. If you see that this is the same Mustafa written in the Kufic style. So it's something that is at the same time traditional but at the same time modern. So this was an interesting one. For this route, what we have done, we took inspiration from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him's mosque, and that is Masjid Al Nawawi. In this mosque, there's a green dome, so we took that as the primary color, and also there were some gates with golden in this mosque, so we took the colors from there as well. So we also took some complementary and adjusting colors. So if you see for the third direction, so these are the lockup variations here. So like other previous directions, you see there are different. So what we did here is just a little bit different, is for the small logo variation. So for the small logo variation, what we did is not just using the whole Mustafa word here. Instead, we just used the letter M here, because in some context there are very much small. So in that case, maybe the whole sentence, the whole word Mustafa, that might not look legibly well. So that's why we came up with a variation as well, and that is with just the letter M, if you see here, the small one. For brand element here, we used the Mustafa pattern, like it's the third direction, Mustafa pattern, spiritual heart, and we used that Mustafa written text, and then we use that as a tiling. So it becomes an interesting one, like it's a representation of something repetitive, something going flow with something flowing. So it's an interesting result we had come up with. So we thought of using it in this direction. So for this direction, if you see the stationary's work, so you see the repetition and using that pattern and those colors in action. So yeah, so this mix of deep green and gold gives a classy look, definitely, and the respectful feel, right? So now if we move about the few applications here, so you see that like same, the carpet, the book cover, the VR, some environmentals, and the topic designs. So that was it. It was the first initial 3 directions we showed to the client, and then we came up with the finalized direction. So the finalized direction is kind of a bit of mix and match. So the client from Masjid Al Mustafa, they actually preferred the first pattern direction and the second one logo. So we had to come up with a common language that bridging the gap and then refining the storytelling and giving all the modern vibe, but also keeping it something magnificent. So for that, let me show you the finalized color palette first. So we kept the Haidar Khana Mosque inspiration for this finalized color palette, and interestingly we tied the names with these colors like heavenly blue, serene blue, majestic blue, soulful teal, mystic dawn, golden age, late night blue. So this was some subtle interesting play here. So we also tried to incorporate the Mystic Dawn here, because you know that the gold, when we were working with just gold and blue, so it felt a bit, it needed another color. So this is something that I want to share, that for creative, for us, sometimes things doesn't go so well. Like you are looking for one thing and you feel something's off, and then you needed to tweak it. So here's, we tweaked it, like we added another color, that Mystic Dawn, and then we finally found that okay, now it's working perfect. So now if we see the Mustafa pattern, like how it came through, so this is what we shared with you guys already, eightfold system, and from eightfold system inspired from 8 bits. So you see that letter M, then from M to the pattern atom, and then pattern atom to the tiling. So this was the base. And for the finalized identity, what we did, we come up with the multiple variations of the pattern, because you know that now this is not a just single something, something that is just very dull, because for pattern we had some limitations for environmentals or spatial designs, because there are some material we had to take consideration to about material, what the scale, the thickness of the stroke. We had to, in fact, this was there was cases like we had to use 5 millimeter for design, and then we had to use 10 millimeter for a design, then I mean that stroke. So that was a bit complicated and technical. But when we used the design, this pattern for digital or print, we thought of this diverse variation, like combining all those colors. So this becomes interesting, because you know now it's not monotonous, it's something that is lively yet subtle and definitely goes with the brief. So here's the logo concept, like I shared, the finalized one, like from the arch, and then coming up with this. So gateway to paradise, and this is the letter M. So final one. So now let's talk about the final type system. So for this type system, for English particularly, we used 2 type systems. So one is Freight Neo Pro, and that is for all kind of branding usage and just for wayfinding. And that we used URW DIN because it is more legible, and we had to consider it for the signage works, because you know that in signage works it's very much important uh, to be able to look it from a distance. For Arabic, we used IBM Plex Arabic, and for Bangla, we used Ador Noirit. So this was the type system. Now, if you look about the logo lockups, so these were the final logo lockups. Like now, it's you can see that how all kind of logo lockup variations were there. So this is it. And now let's talk about the finalized brand elements. So in this finalized route, what we did, we took the octagonal star from the pattern atom, and then we used that in each and every design element mostly. So if you see that how the pattern, the octagonal star that is transforming, I mean something horizontal, something vertical, something that is in signage, something that is in lower third. So you see that, right? So this was an interesting idea. We thought this is cool because something that is rooted in the pattern, the base of Islamic architecture, but at the same time that is totally aligned with the identity. So this was an interesting exploration we had. So now there's some further motion design system. Like in motion, we thought of something subtle, not too much, but at the same time that feels something flowing, something smooth. So we had to adjust those who you know that the curves in After Effects, so that it becomes something smooth. So yeah, so this is displayed for the digital display boards, and this is the logo animation. So in logo animation, we thought, you see that it's like a gateway that popping up from the ground, right? So it's just that the gateway opening through like a cool portal. So now if you see that this was the wallpaper, and we created this 3D wallpaper, and that captures the vibe of, if you see the Islamic architecture's history, like it's all tiled, all mosaic. So we try to give that feel in this 3D wallpaper. So yeah, so we come up with this with the same pattern, and then we did was, if you see the website, and that is very clean, something so eye soothing but also functional. And we did the landing design, so you see that. And finally we also designed the screensaver, so you see that it's designed to be a little piece of spiritual reflection, like something like that. So now let's talk about the stationaries. So this was the stationaries. You see that for different directions they were different, but in finalized direction, finally this was the direction. So you see that there's an interesting part here, like we showed you the patterns of different colors, right? So it's already interesting, but it's more interesting when we combine it with a background color, and that's what we did here. If you see that, so like if you see that the folder, its background color is navy blue, the dark one, so it becomes a different one. And for different usage, it becomes very much diverse, and that's a way of playing with it actually. So now here's some social applications, like some slides, stories, and some timing, greetings. These are some examples. And if you see that we use that octagonal star in this brand elements, right? So as a brand element, as a core brand element. So now finally let's see the 3D environmental renders, and that is also done by us. So we personally thought of showing 3D renders when possible, because this is the best way to visualize and show to the clients, because something that is exclusive, like as a creative I always prefer that, but there's definitely there's issue of budget and there's issue of timing. So in that case we used general mockup, but when there's scope, we get excited to show it in a realistic, just custom mockup that is made by ourselves. So this is the dome, this is the masjid architecture, and this is the entrance. This is the main entrance of the mosque. And if you see like how the pattern and the logo, it comes out beautifully, right? The golden color and all those things. So if you see now, so this is the glass sticker decal. So this is also that pattern we used. So this is not only add a nice touch, but it also highlights the glass beautifully. And now like we designed trilingual digital clock, so in 3 languages. And here are some signage usage, like we use different colors for some cases, just for identification usage, because most of the signage they are blue, but for direction or some warning we used yellow and red. So see that, and green for parking and everything related to parking, we used green and entry. So this is the parking entry, and now this is one of the Kufic calligraphy here. You see that it's used. There are different type of Kufic calligraphy and our custom calligraphy used here. So this is a backside of the mosque, and then so this is the main spot for sermon. So this is where the religious scholars they share their lecture. So you see that there is an distinct stylized calligraphy we used here, and also the pattern work, and you see the carpet. So here's the carpet and the prayer stand with the same pattern. And here's the internal signage here. We used all that in blue, like using the pattern. And also we used something that is two layered, like the base that is of metal material, and the upper one that is of acrylic. So we used UV printing for this. So this is almost it about environmental renders. And then finally we designed this brand book. So for brand book we also thought of something that is meaningful, something that is with intention. So we thought of using the case, the slip case, like it's translucent and it's something that is not fully transparent but shows the beauty of inner design from it. So you see that this is the brand book and that is the slip case. So when you insert the brand book, there's a subtle visual beauty here. And this is just a glimpse of the brand book inside. So yeah. And then finally, these are the real life photos. Like you see, this is the real mosque photo and the inside wall. And then with the signages, particular signage, horizontal signage, the map, and some marble works on the walls, the arches, the glass decal, the clock, so everything. So that was it. I hope you enjoyed the whole process. So that's it. So that's it for today. I hope everyone enjoyed the process as much as we did creating it. And especially thanks to Chris again. Yeah.